fly. See through walls. Summon lightning storms. And bend steel. But do I have superpowers? Nah, I just have a phone. And a few other mobile devices.
Welcome to episode 177 of the Gamers in Beta podcast. This is Captain Mike M. And if I sound more professional this week, it's because I now own the PS4 Pro.
And I am Sean, Quicksilver 3355. And apparently I'm a midge in the game that we'll be discussing at game time.
And this is Jay, aka Maniac 17, after traveling about 1,500 miles plus and riding every amusement ride I could in Florida, and back once again.
Hey there, Joe State here, and much like Captain Mike over there, I can't wait to talk about the new console.
Hey, this is Nick at GamesontheMind on Twitter, and I don't know, I'm back here again for some reason.
Welcome, Nick. You can't stay away. We got you back on the show because I told you we wanted to hear your impressions of the PlayStation VR, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But got some other items we want to talk about first. I know a bunch of you guys went to see the Doctor Strange movie. I've yet to see it myself, but it is doing very well. I believe it's sold somewhere over 75 million in the first weekend. I think that surpasses things like Thor and Ant-Man and Captain America, the First Avenger. So it's doing very well, and I think in total it's done around 240 million. Very popular in places like China, Korea, the UK, and Russia. Let's go to our comic expert right off the top. Joe, what do you got to say about Doctor Strange?
It's so good. That's it.
That's it. Go out and watch it.
Go out and see it for sure. I really enjoyed it, and it was different than the other movies, like a lot different than the other movies, in my opinion. Definitely worth a watch.
I know we don't want to give spoilers out, but what makes it so different? Was there a human element, his powers? Give us a little sample.
So there's like a main bad guy or whatever, but it's, I don't know, like it's definitely like the bad guy itself is treated completely different than in the other movies. It's more of like almost like a passive role. This movie is mostly just like character development and him discovering his powers and everything. And then it's super psychedelic. The whole movie is just like psychedelic as fuck.
Where does this movie take place? Like what country? Is it a country or planet?
The Earth. It's in, I think it's like New York for the most part, and then elsewhere. We'll just say that.
Now, in other Marvel movies, they bring in some other characters, sort of to tie everything together. And, of course, Stan Lee usually makes an appearance to have those sorts of bells and whistles this time around.
Definitely a cameo by the Stan the Man, for sure. And it was a good one, I thought. And then there's another character, but, you may have to wait around a while to see it.
Mm-hmm. Someone we would all know, though?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Now, Jay, you seemed very impressed with this movie. You said something I saw you asking Joe about the comics if they were the same as the movie. What did you like about the movie?
It's different than the other things, and it's the first comic that I'm aware of that kind of deals with magic. Not really a spoiler, but I like the way the story was told, and and then once that was done, because that kept you engrossed in the movie, and then once that was done, it was pretty much nonstop action with a pretty decent story behind it. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's why I was asking Joe if the movie kind of followed along with the comics, which I found out that it does. The original origin story, I guess they've shook it up a few times, but I guess that was the original origin story. So I really enjoyed it. So I will definitely watch that again, and the visual effects are pretty incredible.
Now, Nick, you've seen this, and did you go by yourself or take your son?
I took my son.
Now, is it age appropriate when you were there with your son and the action is unfolding on the screen? Was there any cringe moments, or was it perfectly fine?
No, he's okay.
Yeah,
he's 11. He was fine.
Okay.
My wife had some cringe moments. She can't handle any kind of like medical stuff, and there's a lot of medical stuff in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff either. But your son was very impressed with it?
Yeah, he pretty much enjoys all the Marvel movies because they're just a comic book come to life on the screen. So, but I'll have to agree with Joe and Jay on this one. I really enjoyed it. It did kind of I'm getting kind of the ensemble movies. They're getting a little played out, I think. I kind of liked the last couple movies that Marvel's returned to just being a single character. Like Ant-Man was different than the previous Marvel movies, and then this one is much different. Those two stand out as very different types of movies. Mm-hmm. A lot of good humor, very well written humor in this movie, I think. And there's a few really well acted parts that are almost like you can really see the theater work that Cumberbatch does kind of come out in the character as far as some of the things that happen that are more like, I don't really want to say slapstick, but there are a few real like method type acting parts in the movie that are really cool. So.
Yeah, and is this a surprise to anyone? Did you guys see this coming like it was going to be so well received, or were you skeptical?
It's a Marvel movie, so I mean, it's pretty much set up for success at this point. But personally, Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters, which is weird because I'm actually not even that well versed on all of his solo stuff. But he's in a lot of like team stuff, and I got a really good feel for who he is that way. And so he's one of my favorite characters. I know I've said that about Daredevil, and I've said that about Ant-Man, but all three of those dudes are in my top 5 comic book superheroes. So, it's kind of silly. I sound a little bit redundant saying that every time, but trust me, it's true. And so, yeah, I had high hopes, and I was willing to see it all the way through, and like really had high hopes, even though it was that Benedict Cumberbatch guy. And he didn't disappoint. He killed it.
And that's really his name, right?
I guess.
Yeah. Quite the name there. Anything else you guys want to say about the movie? Jay, anything, any other pertinent information that we might want to cover before we move on?
I think this is probably my favorite Marvel character so far, and I'm pretty much just versed in them through the movies. So I really want to look into this. Matter of fact, to the point where I'm thinking of trying to get some of the trade paperbacks to actually read these ones because I like his story, and I like the fact that it's got magic. That's one of the big things for me. So, I definitely recommend it. Go check it out. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you liked all the other Marvel movies, you'll definitely should enjoy this one too. Although 3D may make you sick. I'm not sure. Did anybody see it in 3D?
No. Almost did.
Nick, did you see it in 3D?
No, I just saw the trailer.
Yeah, I recommend just the standard def. I think the 3D could probably, well, for those that get seasick in the bathtub, it might happen.
I saw some people on Twitter say it was one of the best 3D movies that they've seen.
Definitely, with what goes on it could be.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have thought about seeing it again, but this time doing it in 3D. We'll see. Hey, Nick, did your son go around like spell casting after the movie?
Of course, he does every movie. Unfortunately, every time we go see a superhero movie, after we get out of the movie, he's pretending to be the hero.
Nice.
Except Batman versus Superman. When we got out of that one, we were both a little confounded on why Batman
there is no winner in
that movie.
Sorry, I just imagine like any little kid that goes and sees it, like holding their hand out and like doing that like spin move with their other hand. Yeah, and it sounds pretty awesome to me.
You weren't doing it, Joe? I'm a little disappointed that you didn't try to pull that off.
I was with my wife. She would have ridiculed me.
Interesting tidbit, too. The main villain in the movie, the main villain in the movie, the facial capture and voice are also done by Benedict Cumberbatch. So,
the more you know. I will check it out at some point. I don't know if I'm going to go to the movies by myself to see this or wait for the DVD. I don't know. At some point, though, I will definitely check it out. I think the same could be said for our next topic. The NES Classic was released this week. Now, one of us on this panel owns it. Does anybody else? Nick, do you have it?
No.
So just Joe was able to procure a few. Am I correct, Joe? More than a few of these NES Classics?
Yeah, at one point there was 7 in my car.
Oh, no.
Holy
shit.
Shnikey.
So how much groundwork did that take? Like how much planning did you have to go out and do that?
Honestly, I mean, not that much, really. The last minute, like literally right before I was going to bed, I texted Colin and was like, hey, you want to go out tomorrow? I assume you're getting a NES Classic. And he's like, sure, I guess. I was like, all right, well, I'll drive if you want to just roll with me. Better than wait in a line alone. He's like, yeah, okay. Here's what my game plan is. It's like, oh, that's actually a really good game plan. I'll pick you up at, let's say, 6:30, sometime between then. And then I just went to sleep. Next day, I woke up hella early, got ready, picked him up, and we went and stood in lines.
And that was on, what, a Friday?
That was on, Friday.
Friday. So you also had the benefit of not having to take your daughter to school, right? She was off because Veterans Day?
No, she's in preschool.
Oh, she's in preschool.
She did have to go to school, so I had to work out a deal with the wife. Oh. But, I mean, that resale is like our business, right? And I resold 2 of them. This is to pay the bills, and, whether people agree with it or not, like, sorry, but this is literally how I put food in my kid's mouth, and I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to do that. So, she totally was all for it. Like, yeah, of course, if you're going to be able to turn around and get a couple things to where we can make a significant profit and get the one that we're buying completely covered, then yeah, go for it.
Not to interrupt or anything, but the funny thing that I've always had a hard time understanding when people get upset with people that do that is why they get upset with the individuals that do that and not with the businesses that allow that to happen. It's more power to the person that, is able to get 6 or 7 of those and get online and sell them. In my opinion, it's the people that, walk out of the store on Black Friday and have like 7 of them in their cart and somehow they're able to buy all 7 of them, So
now, were you able to do this at one store, Joe, or did you have to go to multiple?
I went to 2 stores in total. So I went to like a Fred Meyer, which is like a local store. It's kind of similar to, I think on your coast is just called Myers.
Yep.
Myers. That's ours over here. Same kind of like Kroger as well. It's just like a big local sized department store. And they opened at 6. At 7. We got there about a half an hour early. We were 4th, 5th, and 6th in line, and they only had 6 in the store. So we went in there, we got ours, and then we popped out, and we drove straight up the street over to where Target and Best Buy are, right next to each other. Target's supposed to open at 8, but for some reason, I guess they opened at 7. So everybody already got their stuff, and we're walking out with them. And then we just drove right past it because we saw that. And we were first, second, third in line at Best Buy. And then I held a spot for my wife who took Delilah to school and then just popped in line with us. And, they only had 31 of them at that Best Buy, I think they said.
Damn, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah, from what I've been seeing.
So they had 31 there, and the line probably only got to like 40. And by the time the wife got there at 8, there was still only like 14 people in line. So if you really wanted the console, and even if you were just willing to wait an hour in line, you totally could have. So don't complain that you weren't there, and don't complain that you didn't get one. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I mean, it's not the same situation for everybody. Obviously, some people were waiting in line several hours ahead of time at a lot of stores, but that's not the case everywhere.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm certainly seeing like editors on other sites saying that, they didn't get review units for these things. They had to go out with the general populace and go out and buy them, and they went to stores and 20 people in line, and the store only got 5. And that was like, the same story for 4 or 5 stores that they went to. And then the whole Amazon thing was a complete joke.
Yeah.
The site couldn't handle the traffic. It crashed, and they said they were completely sold out by, I think they went on sale at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So by 2:10 or 2:12, they were completely sold out. But, the larger question here is, first of all, you've played it. Give us your feelings on it, your review. Is it worth the hype?
Yeah, I think it's super fun as long as you're into playing retro games. I got it mostly so I can share all those retro games with my stepson. He is obsessed with Mario, and he plays the Wii U every single day. And he's played a couple of the retro arcade games that I have downloaded already, like Super Mario World, mostly SNES games. And so it's really cool to sit down and play Bubble Bobble with him and to play Mario 2 with him and stuff like that. So for me, it's absolutely achieved exactly what I wanted it for. Even my daughter sat down and played with him. They both played Dr. Mario.
Now tell us about the UI. So you boot the system up, and then what happens from there? Is it like a screen where it lists all the 30 games, or how do they break it down?
Yeah, you fire it up. For the first time, it has you select what language. And then from there, it goes into the main screen that you'll see from boot up every time from that point on. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, it's just one menu. And it has the box art for each game. Did you ever play Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES?
No.
Okay, well, it's the same exact kind of layout as Super Mario All-Stars was, which was the collection of all the Mario games up to that point. So basically, you just go in there, it shows the box art and a small description underneath, and then you can scroll left or right, and then select your game. And then you boot up the game and you play it, and if you want to switch to another game, you have to actually get up and you have to go to the console itself and hit the reset button, and then you can select another game. Or if you're still on the game that you were just playing, you can press down on your D-pad and it'll save a save state where you hit reset. And then you can also load your save state from that area and all that kind of stuff. So it's super convenient. I haven't messed with any of the filters yet. Apparently there's a pixel perfect mode to where it skews the aspect ratio just a little bit more, makes it a little bit thinner, but it makes everything pixel perfect. And then there's one that emulates that you're playing it on a tube TV. So
yeah, let's get into the view. And the two questions I want to ask is, how does it look on a modern TV? And then the other one is we knew that the cables were going to be very small, like 2.5 feet. Mm-hmm. Now, you might have went out and bought extension cables while you're out there. I'm not sure, but tell us your experience with both the view and the cables.
Yes, so it looks great. I mean, well, it looks exactly like it should look, like an old NES game. It's not warped, and there's no input lag, like when you're emulating with like a Raspberry Pi or something like that. on an HD TV. A lot of the times you'll have input lag, and so you can't play anything that requires immediate response. But I'm not noticing any input lag with these, which is nice. And then the cords are super short. Once I was actually holding it in my hand, I was like, wow, how do they expect you to play with these things without an extension? I did pick up 2 extensions, though. So I thought that it would come with like 2 extensions per box, but no, it's 1 extension per box. So I don't think that they were expensive. I think they're only like $5, but still, I did get them. But what's really inconvenient is they have this clear plastic, I don't even know, like a guard on the plug, and you can't plug in both extensions at the same time. So I had to take a little glasses screwdriver and take the screws out and pull the guard off of one of them. That way they could actually plug into the NES Classic together. So that was not genius, but whatever. I got it to work.
Do the extensions that you have, are those like third party?
I think that they are third party, but I mean, I don't know if Nintendo actually makes any extensions themselves.
Wonder if the first party ones might be a little slender to fit in there at the same time. It seems odd that maybe one person could be on an extension and not another.
Yeah, I think it's super weird, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think Nintendo directly put out extensions or extenders. So I think these are really your only options. There was also an option to get a third-party joystick, but we passed on that one. When the quantities for the controllers are even more ludicrous than the machines themselves. There was literally only 3 controllers.
Only 1 controller comes with it, is that correct?
Yeah, 1 controller comes in the box. So there's thousands of people right now who only have 1 controller.
Sean or Jay, is this something that you have tried to hunt down at all? I know, Jay, you were away in Florida, but you could do stuff via the internet, or certainly they have stores in Florida, so I'm told. Anything that you guys were trying to track down over the weekend or on Friday?
Well, speaking for myself, I did not. I did look online just for the hell of it, and it was pretty damn ridiculous. They were pretty much sold out, 8 seconds after they were on sale.
Sean, same thing, or you don't have no interest?
No, I have an interest because I wanted to pick it up because I'm going to be, next couple of weeks, I'm actually going to be on 2 overnights a week, so I can bring it with me, and plug it in at the hotel. So
yeah,
I was hoping to get it, but not at these prices. I'll wait.
Now, what about you, Nick? Is this something that you want to pick up eventually, or have you been trying to look as well?
I mean, if I come across one and I can get it for off-the-shelf prices, then eventually down the road I'll get one. It's not a huge deal to me. I think it's the idea is pretty neat, right? And it's a real cool little package, but it's kind of odd to me since not all of those games, but a lot of those games are available in other places, even on other marketplaces for Nintendo consoles. So, I mean, it's not a must-have item, but it is really neat, like just how small it is and how they made it look like the original NES system. So,
no, they're saying the system itself is mostly air, and there's just this very small chipset in there that's doing this, computing. It's basically just a ROM at this point, right? Or an emulator.
Yeah, it's an emulator.
What does that person who spends, I want to say north of $100? Some people are paying way beyond that. Who is that person? Is that a person who just has no care in the world, just endless supply of money? Is that a person who, always has to have the latest and greatest? I mean, I'd like to have the latest and greatest, but I also want the latest and greatest technology. I'm not paying, the same price I pay for a PS4 Pro for this thing. And I don't overpay for my consoles. I pre-order them, and most times I trade things in to get discounts or deals. So who is the person that's going out and spending these? I haven't come across anybody. I've come across people like Joe that are selling them, buying them and then selling them on, eBay or Craigslist or wherever. And so who is that person? Does anybody have a clue?
Well, I do.
Well, I know you do. I mean, I don't want you to give me their name and address, but I mean,
it's just nostalgia. I think, somebody that maybe not in the know as much as we are when it comes to gaming.
Right.
they see this in an advertisement somewhere and they go, oh, that's a real, sweet idea. I remember playing all those games when I was younger. Man, that'd be awesome to be able to hook that up and share that with my kids, or just to be able to hook it up real easily at my desk and just play it there on my monitor or whatever. So
is this incompetence or is this Nintendo being underhanded? So this is a quote here from Ryan McCaffrey from IGN. He says, Nintendo continues to make it difficult for their fans to buy their products because, why? To generate buzz? To drive up gray market prices? To test the limits of their loyalty? Or is it all somehow unintentional? Anybody sort of have what's going on? Is this Nintendo just doing this intentionally?
They're assholes.
Perceived scarcity, like, really, it drives sales like no other. It gets people talking about them. It gets their name out there.
I can't get this? I've got to buy one.
Exactly.
That's the reason they can get $400 for it. I mean, they're not the first ones to do this. And by this, I mean, put out something like this. You can go out and buy there's a Genesis one. There's a bunch out there for a lot of the older retro consoles. And Nintendo has done this now. And because it's a Nintendo product, I think part of it is they do limit production because they're not sure how much is going to be sold, but they definitely limit production also to make a scarcity of it so that people, it creates that it seems that that it's hard to get, and when people see that, they think that everybody's getting them.
Isn't that archaic though? I mean, the iPhone, the latest iPhone or whatever phone, is the most sought-after piece of technology that you could get. You can go into any Apple store and walk out with an iPhone right now if you wanted to, the latest and greatest.
Right now you could, but not in the beginning. But again, they're not doing scarcity. They can only produce so many. Nintendo is creating a scarcity, and also they're gauging to see if people are going to purchase it. I mean, look at the Wii U. I mean,
I used to think that Nintendo shorted supply to drive up demand, but now the more I look at it over the years, I think they're just really, really bad decision makers at a lot of things. So I don't know.
They're doing the same thing with the Switch. They say the Switch is only going to have 2 million units produced.
Now that might be a time issue when they got the final piece of hardware built, like the actual ready for manufacturing hardware, and they've been putting it off and deciding when they were going to, that it was going to be, they told everybody it was going to be a spring 2017 launch. So that might be them saying, oh, okay, well, we pushed for this. So
you bet your ass I'll be in line for that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I know they created it artificially.
You think you're convinced of that?
Oh, definitely. They've done it. They've done it for years, and it's worked. And it won't stop until people stop running out and doing this.
I really don't know, Jay, because, I mean, honestly, Nintendo could have released any one of those games as a single game on their eShop for $9.99 and a piece, and people would have bought those. So it's kind of odd to me that
what's the biggest thing in the news right now as far as gaming?
In a box, 30 games in a box for $60 that they normally charge anywhere from $5 to $10 for a pop.
Yeah, but what's the biggest news gaming right now?
Well, I just, before we get to that answer, they didn't do it with the Wii U, and they got stuck with 5.5 million units that were unsold.
I think they tried to do it with the Wii U, but they didn't gauge it properly.
Well, if they tried to do it with the Wii U, they wouldn't have made so many up front.
Right.
I mean, there has to be a little bit of both here, I think. But this thing is a knick-knack. It's a novelty. This thing should be like on end caps at Walmart and Bed Bath & Beyond and Kohl's.
Exactly.
I mean, it should be everywhere. It's.
You know how cheap that thing is to produce and how easy that is to produce? It's just injection molded plastic with a solid state board in it. I mean, that's so easy to produce. There's no reason to have such limited quantities that they have. I mean, when you're hearing that there's some Walmart stores or Targets that only got between 2 and 5 of these things, that's just them shorting it. There's no way.
Someone is doing poor job of spreading the wealth. I mean, if Joe's store got 31 and another store got 2, well, I mean, is that Nintendo or is that their distributor?
Yeah, but Joe's in a higher, there's more people living in that area.
Well, I mean, the story that I was referencing where they went there and there was 20 people in line and there was only 5 units, that's Philadelphia. That's Chris Grant of Polygon.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Did they do pre-orders for this unit?
No.
Yes.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, because Toys R Us canceled theirs.
Well, I mean,
people were pissed.
Nintendo wasn't taking pre-orders. You couldn't pre-order from like GameStop or anywhere like that.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, on that note, they also didn't have anything to judge the demand.
Well, this is what they had to judge. They did it. The announcement came out on July 14th, right? And at that particular time, there was many news stories about the news stories, meaning places like Polygon and Kotaku said, the interest here is overwhelming because our stories are getting upwards of 2,000 to 3,000 views, 200 to 300,000 views, the same as if we were doing like a preview for the new Zelda game. They compared that there was that much interest. So there was definitely a tip-off right away that people were hot and heavy for this product.
Yes.
I mean, I remember it being announced and people going, "Oh, that's awesome! That looks great! I'll get one." Yeah. But I mean, I don't remember build up for it, and then all of a sudden it came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, crazy! I can't find it anywhere."
People lost their shit when they were announced it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess what I want to get at is I don't know how many of these things they made. Let's say they made 2 million. If they made 5 million, if they were readily available, would they have sold out? Or was it because, I can't get this, so now it's more interesting to me?
Nah, they wouldn't have sold out. And if it was released in the middle of the summer, I don't even know if they would have sold out. But with Christmas coming...
Yep.
Right. This is a stocking stuffer.
Yeah, the demand is super high. I don't know if you're cool with it or not, but, I mean, one of the people that bought one of ours wrote to us on Instagram, and... this is a person that just follows my podcast with my wife that we do about our eBay and everything. And we posted, well, we got some, we were in line, blah, 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 blah. And they ended up writing in and they said, there will be a lot of frustrated people who couldn't get them. I was one of them this morning. So when I found out you had one, I jumped on it. Yeah, I paid more, but I didn't have to go stand in line for hours. And it'll make the person that I bought it for extremely happy. So I'm glad I could buy it from you. And then they all went off on more stuff about how they're happy to support us because of the information we put out there and all that stuff. So it's just somebody looking for convenience like Jay that had the money to burn. And they don't care about it. They're not upset.
The deal's over with. They got it in the house and they no longer have to click the refresh button anymore to get one. Mm-hmm. I personally could never see spending that type of money for games that are, well over 30 years old, right? And two and a half for controller, and you only get one.
Yeah, I couldn't spend a 300% markup or 300+% markup on something.
Yeah,
just because it's the new hotness.
I've never done that for anything.
Same.
I think maybe.
I can't think of anything I've ever spent, way over what it was worth. I mean, I think the only thing that's even close to that would be my portal gun.
I think the 360. When that first came out, I might have paid a little bit more, but I don't think much more than like $75 more.
Now, was that one of them deals where you go to GameStop or Toys R Us and they put a package together, or?
No, my wife got it for me for Christmas. So I know she went through eBay, and she told me she paid just a little bit more than the asking price.
Yeah.
So. It's funny that you say what it's worth, though, because, I mean, what it's worth is in the eye of the beholder. You know what I mean? Like, it's what we got for ours was market value at this point. It's more than retail value.
Right, and that's what I consider as retail. Yeah.
So
because you're absolutely right, because the market value is what what the average mean sale of it is at that point in time. I mean, now does your system show, what's the average sale price on eBay for them right now? Any idea, Joe?
So without the controllers, the average price is about $250, and then with controllers, the average price is $300.
That's crazy.
But I know some other people who sold them without controllers, and I think they sold like 4 of them for $300 a piece.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point too much. It's out there. You got the money. You want to do with it. It's your life. Go out there and enjoy it. It's not something personally I would ever do for this thing here. Let's move on to a more up-to-date system that I purchased this week, the PS4 Pro. I think I'm the only one here that picked one up. Nick, you don't have one yet, right?
No, not yet.
And Sean, we know you're just still a PC guy since I last checked in with you yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So, yes, I got the PS4 Pro. The immediate thing, it fit in the same exact place I had my other PS4. So it is not that much bigger. The footprint is relatively still the same. It doesn't have the glossy finish anymore. It's got that more of that, rougher finish. The PlayStation logo on the top is glossy. The feet on the bottom, like Joe has mentioned before on the podcast, are the PlayStation logos, the square and triangle and so on and so forth. Joe really likes those, right, Joe?
Oh, man. Love them.
Let's get a pants tent right now.
He's got a little pants tent. It is a little, I'm not sure if archaic is the right word, but the whole way you can transfer the games, because there's no external support, right? My saves for the games are in the cloud, so that's not, that's very similar to the Xbox thing. But as far as transferring the installs that you already had, you could have put those on an external drive, and you could have done the whole transfer process that way. Or if I didn't trade them in, my PS4, I could have hooked up the 2 consoles together and done a transfer. I didn't bother doing that. My internet here is fast enough. I pay enough money for my internet. I was like, put the damn thing to work and download what I want. So I have all new, fresh installs, pulled down my saves, So I'm happy in that aspect. It's actually even, it's got everything sort of cleaned up now. I don't have all these games on there that I haven't touched in months. But the system does feel more responsive to me. Again, I don't know if that's a psychological thing, like Jay mentions with backwards compatibility. Oh, the games look better. It feels like they've done something to them, or they just seem to work better.
Some of the people from the bigger news sites have actually done side-by-side comparisons, and it is quicker.
Yeah, so I do feel it is more responsive. It looks great. I mean, just games that haven't been given the enhanced experience, like Battlefield 1 is not one of these games that there's a PS4 Pro patch out for. But I put that thing in, and it just looks night and day difference to me. I don't know why, but when I put it in, I'm just totally blown away. Now, some of the other games that supposedly got the update, like Black Ops 3, the campaign didn't look any better to me, but when I got into the multiplayer, all the background and stuff like that, the mountains, phenomenal. So much detail. So I can tell some games you put in, and there'll be the screen that pops up and says, we're going to switch over to HDR now, blah, blah, blah. So I did that today with Ratchet and Clank, and man, that game looks really, really good. So I spent a lot of time playing that one today. But overall, couldn't be happier. I didn't pay full price. I traded in my other one, and I put some money down, some of my birthday money that the relatives gave me. So I think out of pocket, I probably paid like $175. Well worth it for me. Got the new DualShock 4 control with the light bar on the top. Such a radical change, right? Can't believe it. I think it's not one of these things that people have to rush out and get unless they have the TV for it. But if you do want something that that acts a little faster and might even give you better visuals, even if you don't have a 4K, it's out there. It's for you. I don't want to piss on it because I like Sony and I like PlayStation, but I am unsure because this is the first sort of iterative release if this thing is going to be successful or not, because there's no settings like details like, all right, this game has been enhanced, and this is what you're getting. This is what enhanced means. It's so ambiguous right now that you don't know, again, if it's a psychological thing and I want to feel good about my investment, so I'm looking at this and go, wow, that looks great, or did they actually do something to it? I don't know.
Yeah, right. That was kind of my concern with it was, I was hoping that, you put a game in and immediately it would prompt you, like, oh, you're playing this game on PlayStation Pro. Do you want to run this game at, 2160p at 30 frames a second, or do you want to run this game at 60 frames a second at 1080p? What, like, you could pick and choose the features
and you
that
don't
you
get
wanted
that
to run at. Yeah.
You got to set everything to automatic in the,
Right.
in the settings. And once you have it set to automatic, then there's like I think it says video output settings, and you go to that, and then it tells you, like, is your TV compatible? So for mine, it says it can do 4K, 2K, and all this other stuff. And like I said, when I put Ratchet and Clank in, it immediately told me, hey, we're gonna cut over to HDR at this point. But first in the market with this, they're going to have the growing pains with this to try to get the traction. There's certainly, I think, 40-plus games that have some sort of update out there. I'm trying to download as many as I can, so over the coming episodes I'll have more to talk about those. But I think really Xbox is in a good position here to see the mistakes that Sony makes, and they can sort of maneuver their way around them, because I certainly think it's just it's not black and white enough.
Right. And not to include a ultra high def Blu-ray player on it was kind of a bum deal.
Yeah, for those people that are strictly one product only, it doesn't really make sense. For me, could care less. I don't buy them, and I already have an Xbox One S. So I can play it there. But certainly,
I just think in the marketing department, that's kind of a big win for Xbox.
Right. I don't know how much more that would have driven the price up. I don't know if they were price conscious or not. I do like that the USBs on the front are close together. The buttons that I can press are power, and for the drives are a little bit easier to recognize this time around. I wouldn't say night and day difference, but a little bit better. It's good that the optical drive is still there. And on the back, it seems like it's now easier to do the hard drive swap, as it's just this like little plastic gate that you open up and it pops out.
The issue with that, though, is this: they did the same thing they did with the PS4. Is you can still only put in that same size drive, and by size, I'm not talking the capacity of it. I'm talking the physical dimensions of the drive.
Right.
The largest you can get is a 2 terabyte right now, even though they mentioned that they have updated it so it can handle a 4 terabyte. However, they don't make a 4 terabyte in a 2.5-inch basically laptop drive that has the outside dimensions of that, because usually when you get into the 4 terabytes, it's either a double platter or it's a platter that the internals make it larger, so it won't fit. So you can still only put 2 terabyte in it.
Mm-hmm. It is a faster hard drive interface this time around. I haven't put my SSD drive in there yet, but they're saying if you put that in, that you should be able to pull out, according to some sites, again, Polygon, I'm getting this information from, they say if you put in the SSD, you should be able to pull out much more performance out of that drive because they've updated their hard drive interface.
Yeah, it's a newer version. I can't remember what the name of it is. I'm not sure if it's SATA or not.
It's SATA 3.
Okay, yeah. So it actually transfers faster now, which was a good addition. They've
also upgraded their Wi-Fi as well. I have mine hardwired right into my router, so not a huge deal for me, but it does have higher speed Wi-Fi connections.
Have you noticed anything from that or not?
I've always never had a problem with the PlayStation as far as downloads. I know other people complain, just like I complain about the Xbox downloads. For whatever reason, in my situation with my ISP in my house, I have no issues with Sony downloads. Mine are always with the Xbox. Couldn't be more happier. but I don't think it's for everyone, and we'll see, how it goes from here. If it's just going to be the new hotness, and then it sort of fades away, and people stop doing the updates, and then people are left with a machine that just, we got 75 games that, had this, update, and now we're just sitting here with nothing. Sean, Nick, you're waiting until you get the television, right?
Yeah, I'm probably waiting until after the holidays. Not a huge priority. I mean, I'm interested in it. I was more interested from the PS VR aspect of it than I was from the kind of the standard games. I was a little bummed out to find that they were really just kind of, like you said, just kind of insert the game, and it just kind of told you auto magically what it was going to do for you with the games. I was really hoping it was going to give you some more PC like options as far as, do I want to run this game at ultra settings with this frame rate, or do I want to run it at, good settings with a better frame rate, type style options that like PC games offer you? Because it would be, really, nice for them to be able to go back to some of the PlayStation 4 library and be able to bump a lot of those games to 60 frames. Because I'll tell you, fidelity is great. I mean, making games look really, really pretty is awesome, and everybody's, a lot of people are always graphics whores, oh God, look at how good this looks. But I'll tell you, man, when you play games at 60 frames a lot on PC, and then you go back to playing a game on a console, it's a huge difference. Going from 60 frames to 30 frames, depending on what kind of games you play. That is, obviously, there's a lot of games that doesn't matter because of the pacing, but it would have been nice to, to have that option there to just say, oh, okay, well, I'll keep my high def, I'll keep my 1080, but I want to run the game at 60. So
now, do you think that is simple as a system update at some point, like a software update, like a UI thing?
I mean, I do, and obviously the architecture of the machine is very similar to the original PS4 architecture, because it plays all the same games. So there's got to be a way to do software updates to the actual games themselves to allow that. So
now, and this idea, is this something that you came up with, or have you heard, is Xbox going to do this with the Scorpio? Or
no, this is just something
on
when
your wish list.
Yeah, when they first revealed the Pro and they were talking about it, that was kind of at the top of my head. I was like, oh, that'd be sweet if they gave you an interface menu, or even if you just, after the patch, downloaded to the game, if you went to the game's options screen and it just had a option there that just said, video, and you go there like a PC game and you have all your options.
Hopefully they're listening to the podcast, Nick, and that will come down the pike at some point. But you mentioned PSVR, and would it do any sort of performance boost with the PS4 Pro? I think Zientane just got his PS4 Pro today, so I haven't heard from him yet if he notices any difference. And certainly you've already said you don't have the PS4 Pro, but you do have the PlayStation VR. And that's why we wanted to have you back on the show to talk about that a little bit. Not sure if you got to listen to us this week on Gamers Unscripted. We covered a little bit of that. But I really wanted to get your impressions, things about, just sort of maintenance. Do you feel like when you put it on, it has, a good feeling? Is it too many wires? Is it something when you get home from a long day at work, do you look at it and go, wow, that's a lot of work to put that on? I just want to pick up the controller. Are you happy with your purchase? What do you think of the games? The whole gamut there. It's a lot of questions, but, dive in wherever you want.
Yeah, so I'm extremely happy with the purchase. I mean, for what it is, it works extremely well. It actually works better than I thought it was going to work. And for my setup, it's really not a hassle at all. I mean, I have an office space, like a studio office space in my house. I don't have anything behind me, so I can back up a good 7-8 feet to the wall behind me with nothing, in my way, nothing obstructing the camera or anything like that for the PlayStation. Is the headset's, it's fairly comfortable. I think with my glasses, because I wear glasses, I think maybe that adds to the discomfort because I can't get the thing right up against my face like I could if I didn't have glasses. I mean, I've had some really awesome experiences. I mean, nothing, yet where it's like I'm in complete control. I mean, Riggs is kind of like that. Riggs is the mechanized combat. It's a pretty bare bones game as far as the content, but it's a glimpse of what it can do, and that's the one where you're like these mech, almost like Robot Jock, if anybody remembers that old movie. You're like these mech pilots. It's like an arena sport. It's got a very Monday Night Combat type feel, if anybody remembers that game.
Sure.
Very bright colors, bright arenas, a lot going on, and it's 3-on-3, and you get all these different mechs, and you run around and shoot each other. And that game is pretty neat because it's one of the games that uses the controller in tandem with the headset, where I'm moving with the controller and looking around with the headset, and that's really cool. That's one of the more immersive experiences I've had. I really enjoyed that. The Batman, I have Batman VR. That's more just kind of stand in place and kind of look and move to the area you want to, like teleport to the area you want to get to. Really awesome visuals, some really cool moments. There's a part in that game where I use the Move control. I played that game standing up using the Move controllers as your hands, which I think would probably be the best way to play it. There's a part in the game where you have to like assemble a 3D puzzle. It's like a bomb. You have to put it back together in front of you, and it's really kind of neat because it really, at least for me, it really tricks me into believing I'm in that 3-dimensional space.
Mm-hmm. So total immersion.
Yeah, I mean, especially like what I'll do is I'll put the headset on, and I'll actually shut the lights off in the room, so I don't have any outside light creeping in.
Yep.
And I'll play like that, and it's super immersive that way.
There has to be some negatives. Anything that you don't like? Yeah,
I mean, I'm not huge on motion sickness, but there are a few things that have got me woozy in that game. In that using the device, Riggs has an option in it where if you you can turn on an option where when you look, it turns your mech. Well, the problem with that is sometimes you're following a player, like an enemy player, an component, and the opponent will run by you really quick, and you'll turn really quick to look at them, and it'll spin so fast that'll kind of make you lose your balance there for a bit. That one got me, and then I have the Until Dawn game, the Rush of Blood, which is like a roller coaster amusement park ride, and it's like a shooter. It's like an on-rail shooter. But man, there are these parts in the game where you start going up and down on the roller coaster tracks like really fast. And I'll tell you, man, when you're going down, I think your brain, and your what you're seeing and what your balance in your ears, they're fighting each other. Because what your optical, what you're taking in optically, it's fighting against what your body is actually feeling, just standing there or sitting there. And it's this weird, like almost like out of body experience. Like, it's hard to explain, but
I have that every morning when I look at myself in the mirror.
But there's a few times when it's like that. Like there's a part in the Batman game where you're going down this elevator down into the Batcave, and you can look down and you see yourself going down. And you can look up and see everything above you and behind you. And it's weird because you start kind of wobbling where you're standing because you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Because, it's kind of tricking you into thinking you're actually moving, but you're not. So, but I've had so much fun with it. I've had a blast hooking other people up to it, like my wife, my sister. She was in town. I put my sister through the kitchen demo, which is the Resident Evil 7.
Oh, yeah.
You sit in the chair and your hands are zip tied, and the guy's trying to get you out. I don't know if have you guys gotten to do that one?
I've seen it, yep.
Oh, my God. My sister was screaming. But everybody that I've put the headset on and they've got to try it has just said, wow, that's really amazing. That works really well. It's intense. So I'm pleased with my purchase.
Now, how's the stream? Has it been a steady stream of content coming out digitally and physically?
Yeah, there's quite a few games available. I wouldn't say there's anything. I'd probably say to me, the most recent game I purchased that I've really just was kind of really happy with the purchase was the Robinson Journey, and that is a Ubisoft game. I think it's about maybe 5-6 hours in length, and
that's
it's
Crytek.
kind of, yeah, Crytek. I'm sorry, Crytek. You're right. I'm sorry. Excuse me. It is Crytek. Because it's CryEngine 3, right?
Yep.
That's the one. Okay, so yeah, that game's really neat. That's like an exploration puzzle game.
Yeah.
So the Ubisoft one, I'm sorry, is the Eagle Flight.
And that's got some multiplayer in it too. That's one of the few VR multiplayer games. You picked that up at all?
Right. No, I haven't yet. Yeah, most of the games have been shorter in length, but they haven't been full-priced games. Like, the Rush of Blood, that's a $19.99 game. The Batman was $19.99. For some reason, that Robinson Journey, it's $60 if you buy it off the PlayStation Store, but I walked into GameStop and got it for $39, and that's the longest game I played.
Do you feel that there could be, that if the game was longer, that'd be something you'd want to do? Would you be able to? I'm not sure what your gaming sessions are. I mean, you stream a lot. You start around 8, maybe you go to 11 or 12. Could you see yourself wearing VR for the whole 4 hours?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it just depends on what the game is, and if it really suffers from some of that motion-oriented stuff. But a lot of the games that people said were making them sick, I wasn't having an issue with. Like, everybody was saying that Drive Club was making them just horribly sick, and I didn't get nauseous at all playing that.
That's probably always a personal thing, right? Your tolerance levels. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Before we move on, is there any game that you're particularly waiting on, that you're eager to try out, something that's coming down the pike that they're developing?
No, I'm just really excited about just the prospect of what could come. Obviously, I really want to see what Resident Evil 7 is going to be like, because that game is going to support it. So, if you can play the whole game in the VR helmet, that'll be awesome. The headset, that'll be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming back on, Nick. Lots of good stuff there about the PSVR. I'm still waiting. Maybe Santa will bring it to me. I don't know. But let's segue into the community question of the week. So fortunately or unfortunately, we had our presidential election this week. Maybe you heard. I don't know. We won't dive into that, though, thankfully. And let's see. The question was, what video game characters would you have elected for president and vice president? So we got some answers from our loyal listeners. We'll read those right now, and then we'll chime in as well.
Alrighty, our first response was from Devious Mr. Matt of the 40cast. For president, he says Geralt. For vice president, John Marston. Good choices. Awakened Heathen. President is Lucas Sims, and VP Doom Guy. I'm not familiar with either one of those.
Yeah, does anybody know who those people are? Lucas Sims?
I'm not sure about Lucas Sims, but
Sounds
I think
familiar.
Lucas Sims is from Fallout, Jay. So that's 2 demerits for you, Jay.
Yes, it is.
I think he means the Doom Guy, like the Doom Marine.
All right. Keep going, Jay.
RoboPig. President is Gordon Freeman, and VP is Scooter from Borderlands 2.
Oh, no. He was going for the Dan Quayle thing there? Is that what he was trying to do?
I guess so. Indio Techno. President is Mario, and VP Luigi. I guess that would be a gimme there, huh?
Low-hanging
2 brothers
fruit.
in the White House.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm going to let that go. Go ahead.
G-Ham. President is Heihachi from Tekken, and VP, how about Chun-Li?
Heihachi.
Hell yeah, Heihachi.
The hair alone.
That's right, yeah. Our good friend Los at the Elusive Man of the Future Monkeys podcast wrote in, and he said, this is obviously not on Twitter. He says, to play catch up from last week, I echo many answers already said. Being a fanboy is promoting and professing blindly one brand over another. I saw this a lot in the old Xbox days with Halo. I remember going into a GameStop looking for a slim PS2. Memories. And the guy was like, ugh, why do you want that? You need to get an Xbox. I already knew why, but I humored him and asked, why? Halo. And that's when I walked out. Couldn't stand fanboys back then. Can't stand them now. We're all gamers. We all love this hobby. We all need to just get along and respect each other, no matter how much better Sony is than Microsoft. Smile. And then he said, oh, and I would totally vote for the Democratic Party of my Commander Shepard and his Vice President Enzio Auditore da Firenze.
Wow, look at that.
I'm Commander Shepard, and I approve this message. And show enough from the Gamer Husbands Radio says Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series. If Capitol Hill gridlocks, he just cuts them down with the dragon sword. Beardy McWhiskey, also from the Future Monkey, says Shepard for president because he or she has the connections. Sonic for vice president because he's going to get things done fast. And Carrie Lambertson at Alaska Girl on Twitter says Thrall for president, Tom Nook for vice president. And Jeremy S Pro EX at Ruiner 2 of Dad's Getting Grounded says instead of saving the president, they are the president. Hashtag make nunchucks great again, bad dudes.
They're not getting kidnapped by ninjas, that's for sure.
So let's get into some of our responses. Jay, during your drive down to Florida or maybe your plane ride back, maybe you gave this question some consideration. What is your president and vice president of gaming characters?
My president would be the protagonist from PsyOps. I don't remember his name because he can read everybody's minds and control their minds and control physical objects. So he's badass. So he wouldn't even need a vice president.
So this means Jay didn't think about it that long.
Nope.
All right, who wants to go next? Nick, how about you?
Sure, I'll go. So my president, my video game character president, would have to be Kenny from the Telltale Walking Dead series. Man, that guy's got some determination.
Kenny, I'm
Gets
trying to
shit
think which one
done.
Kenny is.
Kenny's kind of the redneck.
He was the guy in the camper, right?
With the
He's the guy in the
trucker
camper
hat.
man who wanted to help everybody out, you know?
Yeah.
And then my vice president, this is taking it back, but you need to have somebody with a little charisma to back up Kenny on your campaign trail. So my vice president would be Guybrush Threepwood from Monkey Island.
Jeez, at least you had a vice president with yours.
Yep. Jay. All right, Sean, lay it on us.
All right, well, I had actually picked Commander Shepard because I approve of this podcast on the Citadel, or this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. But my vice president, I was going for a little more colorful and everything else. I was thinking Duke Nukem would be my vice president because he's got some pretty funny quips.
Well, your wish is pretty much granted. So
Yeah.
We need that like achievement ding.
Although he has the hair like Guybrush Threepwood.
All right, Joe.
Well, I have two different options that I'm kind of stuck on. So the first pair would be War from Darksiders and Kratos, because let's just fucking burn the world down. And then my other options would be Pac-Man and Qbert, because they got them old-timey values. They're stand-up fellas.
Social Security ain't going nowhere with Pac-Man and Qbert around.
Yeah. That's right.
And just in case you're curious, the PsyOps protagonist was Nick Scryer.
Right at the tip of my tongue there, Jay.
Oh, man, I could rest easy. I could go to bed easy tonight.
I knew you would.
So like Joe, I have two pairs as well of election. That didn't come out right at all. Jeez. Hey now.
Do you live around a nuclear plant? No.
I have two presidential and vice presidential selections. Is what
Should
I
I
meant
fill
to
in for
say.
Corey here? Giant penis.
Big penis. Just, I think my mood earlier in the day or the week, I think I would have the leader of the Hellgast as my president, Skola Visari, for anybody that's played the Killzone games. And maybe to keep him in line and sort of maybe, pull some shenanigans and undercut him, I put Mad Max as my VP with those pairings.
He would kick some ass.
Now, for the beautiful people out there, the Hollywood types, right, we'd have to have Nathan Drake as the president and Lara Croft as the vice president, right? And that seemed logical there. They can both go off on adventures. So those are my two choices. Sadly, they're not going to come true.
Why is
And
Laura
we'll just-
Croft going to be the vice president?
What's that?
Why is Laura Croft going to be the
there it
vice
is.
president, Mike?
They're just trying to match what we have now. The
She's
vice
been around
president's more
longer.
intelligent.
She has a good chance of being the president with all the friggin' rock climbing that Nathan Drake goes on without a net. Have you seen that guy? He could fall at any minute and she could be the president.
The real plus to that would be that if North Korea doesn't show us their nuclear facilities, the president and vice president could just infiltrate them,
Right.
find out what's going on.
And we should pick someone from Splinter Cell. Shame on us. All right. The community question for next week. Sean, why don't you read this? This is very timely.
If you could pick any other console to get the NES Classic treatment, what would it be? And what are a few games that you'd want on it?
Now, Nick, since you won't be on next week, unless you want to, do you have sort of something right off the top of your head that maybe would fit that answer? Question?
Totally. The TurboGrafx 16.
And why is that?
It was just an awesome 16-bit machine. I've got a lot of great childhood memories of it. And if you put something out like that at that price, I'm sure you get some people to buy it that never experienced any of those games. A lot of cool side-scrolling games on that system.
Do you think we will see a copycat effect here?
I think Atari did that, didn't they? Didn't they come out with something a while back?
Yeah, Atari has them. Genesis has one.
Oh, yeah. If anybody did a copycat, it was Nintendo.
I think Nintendo will do a Super Nintendo one.
The Genesis straight up just went back into production, like right after or right around the same time that was coming out, right? In Brazil.
Oh, really?
Now, I guess with the NES Classic treatment, are the other ones that have come out, are they like this? Meaning they have like 30 built-in games, and you get save points now, and there's different filters, like Joe said.
I think the Genesis one has like 80 games or something like that.
Yeah, and they had an Atari one that was basically, it was just the controller from the original, and you just plugged it into your TV.
And that came straight from Atari.
Yes. From what I'm reading here, the Atari Flashback 7 classic game console.
Yep.
All right.
So you don't get much smaller than that, was the controller.
And it comes with 101 games.
So that
Just a
means,
couple.
So that means when people answer this question next week, they can't say Atari.
True.
And they can't say Sega Genesis. Is that right? Is that too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other ones that we need to let people know that they can't answer with?
ColecoVision?
ColecoVision came out with a first party, or some other people came out with it?
I think it was probably a second, modern day. They licensed it or whatever.
All right.
Can't do the Famicom either.
Nope. No, because they did that in Japan. We're just
All right.
ruining this for everybody. Sorry.
New question.
Let's move on into what we've been playing. I'll go first because it's pretty brief. Like I mentioned with the PS4 Pro segment, just popped in a bunch of things just to check out the improvements. The one I probably played the longest was Ratchet and Clank. That is a great game. If anybody's on the fence with that, that's a remake, isn't it, Nick? Of the original?
Yeah, like a total remake.
Right, yeah.
Reimagining, right?
Yeah, reimagining, remake.
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying that. I mean, that's just, I've said it before with games like Recore. That's just video gaming to me. I mean, just going around smashing crates. It's got some platforming aspects to it, some shooting. It's just a lot of mindless fun. I finished the campaign to Titanfall 2. I think I voiced my displeasure a little bit earlier in the week. I was not crazy about that sort of factory where they made those prefab houses or whatever. But once I got past that, I thought it picked up excellent. A lot of good, cool puzzle elements, which is not my strong suit, but I got through them. Maybe a little heavy-handed on the wall running, but I think they're not the only game that is guilty of milking a mechanic. Certainly Uncharted 4 with the rock climbing, and Batman with the Batmobile.
Fuck that Batmobile.
There it is.
The most hated game character of 2015, the Batmobile.
Just put that in there to see if Jay was still listening. And the wall running is a bit much, I thought, at times, but the guns feel fantastic. The mech boss fights are pretty cool as well. So overall, very satisfied with that. Did you play that one, Nick?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think?
I thought it was good. I thought it was a tad brief.
I knew that going in. It was going to be 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, I even played it on the hardest difficulty available from the onset. I think not master, but whatever the one prior to that is.
Yep.
And I found very little challenge going through the single player of that game. I died the handful of times I died playing that game was because I mistimed a wall run jump.
Yes, those are the majority of deaths.
So
yep.
As far as the shooting was pretty solid. I never really got to figure out what guns I liked and didn't like, because it seemed like every time I turned around in that game, they were giving me a new gun.
Right.
I mean, they all felt nice. Not one of them was like, oh shit, I don't want this piece of garbage. But I mean, I didn't really go, oh yeah, that's the one I really like. So
I agree. And I thought there was a great variety with the Titans as far as the weapons that you could add on. I want to say there was maybe 8 to 10 that you could collect throughout the game. I don't know if I got all 8 to 10. I think there's maybe one that I missed.
Yeah, I think there's 8. I think there's 8 different loadouts.
Yeah. And I bounced around. You know, the toughest, I think the Viper boss fight was probably the toughest. Not sure if you agree with that, but that was the one that took me the longest to get through. And that one I went through a couple different loadouts during the course of the battle. But finished that. Glad to have that in the rearview mirror. Now on to multiplayer. Infinite Warfare. Dove into that a little bit more this week. I am not great at flying ships. You know, I sort of laugh and kid around that I'm not great in Battlefield 1 even on a motorcycle. And if you've seen my skills in that area, you would be really displeased with seeing me fly around in Infinite Warfare.
Really wish you had the Jeeps footage from Battlefield 1, just saying.
They're just not great flying around. And, you know, the Call of Duty games to me always do this thing where even if you suck, it still advances the story. Right? It doesn't feel like your performance hinders much in the game. So I sort of just got through it, but I want to go back and play it because I feel like I really didn't play it the way it was supposed to be played. And I think the same could be said once you get out of the ship as well, and you're sort of in that on top of the ship, and you got the gravity to worry about and shooting those guys. I wasn't so hot at that either. Did you get through that, Nick?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it? Those particular segments there.
Yeah, so I kind of enjoyed the Raptor combat in the little jet fighter, space jet fighter. I enjoyed that. The out of ship, like the missions where you infiltrated an enemy ship, which I think were mostly side missions. That's kind of the mix up about that game, is that once you get past the first couple initial missions, then you get like a star map, like a solar map of the solar system, and there's missions all over it, and some are main missions of the game, like campaign missions that move the story along, but there's a bunch of other side missions that get you like weapon unlocks, perk unlocks, things like that, that you're free to do or not do. There's several of those that are like ship infiltration missions that are really cool, that start you outside the ship and you kind of have to sneak aboard. Right. Those ones are neat. Now, the ones that have you outside the ship fighting, I was playing on Veteran, and I'll tell you, that game suffers from the same thing that every other Call of Duty game suffers from, that drives me up the fucking wall, and that's that I have 7 guys on my team with me, but the enemy is all shooting at me.
Yep, exactly.
They're ignoring the other 7 dudes, right? I've got 7 guys shooting at me at one time, and they are crack shots.
And those 7 guys on your side aren't killing them either.
Yeah, they don't miss. I mean, there were parts in that game where I stuck my head out and just like I would hear 2 hit markers plop up and I was dead. So a little frustrating there.
Yeah, the AI is very spot on, but even the NPCs that are with you, they don't do much to kill the AI either.
No, so they're just there as set pieces to make it feel like you're part of something bigger than you are.
I will say the flying was. I was better at the flying when it was like more like open world and you could like move around. But the flying, I think there was like one mission you had to like shoot some cargo ships or something like that. And it was in a very, very confined area. I was dreadful at that. But I just kept shooting shit until it blew up. But I want to go back to that. And I also have it, when I bought the PS4 Pro, they gave you a free copy of Infinite Warfare. I guess there was a GameStop thing when anybody who buys a new PlayStation console or Xbox, you get a copy of just a vanilla version of Infinite Warfare. So I want to pop that in the PS4 Pro and see the difference in HDR. Other than that, the only other thing is Vermintide, Warhammer Vermintide. We played that last night with Joe and Sean and Jeremy of Dad's Getting Grounded. And Jeremy and I played it earlier in the week as well. What'd you guys think of that, Joe?
I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, what would you describe it as? Left 4 Dead in the Warhammer universe?
Totally. That's exactly how I would describe it, yes.
You guys playing on PC?
Yeah, on PC, yeah.
Awesome.
And I think
it's super similar to Left 4 Dead. They steal a lot of the same trappings as Left 4 Dead, only they don't some of the bad guys, like there's a tank, but they don't have like a direct version of like the witch, and they don't have a direct version of the boomer, but they have similar things.
And Sean, what character were you?
I was the midge.
Yeah, baby. You're a little dwarf who I was obnoxiously calling the midge.
Yes, but it was a lot of fun.
Insensitive,
It was a lot of fun last night. We had a good time last night for sure. Almost 2 hours.
I think it was closer to 3 hours. I thought it was definitely over 2.5 when I shut off Skype.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think the base game must come with 6 maps, something like that, and there seems to be 5 to 6 difficulty settings that you can put it on.
But you might as well just put it on hardcore, because easy mode is like hardcore, it seems. Yes. It doesn't seem the balance is very good.
And Joe says that's a staple of Left 4 Dead too, right? Easy for Left 4 Dead wasn't that easy?
Originally, yeah, on the first Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. So yes, we had some situations, even though we were on easy, where we were dying a lot. And I think the first 2 maps that we played, we failed. And then we went to some other easier maps and did 3 or 4 in a row. And then we conquered one of the maps that we failed at. So I think by the end of the night, we knocked out 5 maps. And we have 1 left to do. The one, I think it's called Black Powder or something like that, where you have to bring 8 barrels back to the base before you can even move on to the rest of what's supposed to go on in that map.
Yep.
There's a lot of variety, I think, in the enemies that come at you. There's just, regular grunt-type rats, and there's, bald rats that come at you in a horde fashion. And they got these assassins. They got these guys that grab you by the neck and pull you away. I forget what those ones were called.
Smokers.
What was that?
Smokers.
And then there's the ones that shoot the gas at you, the Gatling gun. So, I thought it was a lot of variety. It looks great, I think. On my PC, it's running, I don't know, close to 80 frames per second, sometimes 120, depending on where we are. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, in my opinion. Anything to add with that, Sean?
No. I think it's a fun game to play with friends for sure. Doing it by yourself, wouldn't recommend it, but because the AI is not very smart, so definitely having 4 people is the way to go, I think. But
the leveling up is not the greatest as far as it doesn't give you much XP.
No, not at all.
So I think after the course of playing 2 consecutive nights, I'm level 3, and Jeremy's level 3. You guys might be level 2 or very close to level 3.
No, I'm level 3, almost level 4, actually.
Yeah, because you played on Extra Life, so you already played.
Yeah. Yep.
And Joe, you with just one night, I think you're only on level 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the XP is very stingy, but lots of fun, and there's some DLC that we could dabble in if we complete that last level. And I think very reasonably priced on CD keys, $10, $15 if you want to get the collector's edition. So yeah,
That's cheap.
Yep, well worth the time, I think.
It's 27 gigs though. 27
That's
or
not bad.
29. It's actually huge. Because so I installed it, and I was like, well, if this is a lot like Left 4 Dead, I'm probably going to want to play Left 4 Dead. So I installed those too. And man, that seems so crazy to me because the original Left 4 Dead's 3 gigs, Left 4 Dead 2 is 7 gigs, and then this is 29 gigs.
And it's still half the size of most normal AAA releases now.
Have you
Yeah.
played this at all on consoles, Nick?
No, I haven't played it on either PC or console, but I knew it was basically like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
think
it always looked like a really good time.
And there's how many different characters? 6 or 5?
4.
No, they only
Or
can play 4 at a time.
5 characters.
5 selectable characters, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird that you can't have the full ensemble that they only made it for, but whatever. I would definitely play it again on some game nights for sure.
Definitely. And it kind of made me really want to play some Left 4 Dead, so I want to try and set up a Left 4 Dead game night. I think that
Say when.
unanimously we have Left 4 Dead 2, but not everybody has Left 4 Dead. Is that what we...
That's what we came
Found
to
out
the
last night?
conclusion
Yeah.
last night, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Left
yeah.
4 Dead 1 has to be ultra cheap as well, I imagine.
It was $20 on Steam right now.
Yeah, there's a holiday sale coming next month, I'm sure, so...
Yeah, I'm going to wait till next month and then I'll pick it up.
But I like
I've
2 because you can play as the original characters in 2 also.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to get a night going with all of us in one of those.
So that's my list for the week. Joe, we already mentioned Vermintide, and anything else to add on the NES Classic games, or are you all done?
No, that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Jay, you've been in Florida, so your list can't be too complete. I think you got in yesterday, so maybe 2 days of gaming.
Actually, I haven't played much at all. This is stuff that I've been playing since the last time around, and it's only 2 games. I finished Rise of the Tomb Raider, and after that, I've been trying to figure out what to play, so I played some Battlefield 1. Still playing on the EA Access time, so going to play through that, and then possibly pick it up. If you guys are still playing on PS4, I'll pick it up on there. And from everything I've been hearing about Titanfall 2, I'm thinking about picking that one up too if I can get that on sale. And then I'll wait for the news to announce what else I want to play in the future here.
Okay. Now, the Battlefield 1 on EA Access, remind me, is that just campaign, or can you play multiplayer too?
I believe you can play multiplayer because you get 10 hours.
Okay.
But the thing is they only give you 90 minutes of it is the campaign.
Right. Yeah, we played some Battlefield 1 last night, too, before we got into Vermintide. That's still hilarious, especially when you get in there with Damien from Dad's Getting Grounded, because all he does is Bayonetta charges to get the dog tags.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you just hear him running around. "Arr!" So, yeah, a lot of fun there. All right, let's see. So that's Jay and Dunn, Joe Dunn, and myself. Nick, what about you? What have you been playing?
We covered most of it. So I
The
finished
VR stuff?
Titanfall 2.
Yep.
And then I went through the Infinite Warfare. So it's been kind of like shooter overload for me. And then I hopped back in. I've been playing a little bit of Division Underground since the patches, since the updates, to try to get a feel for the improvements in that game.
Yeah, I booted that up a little bit before we started tonight just to see what was new. And it came up to the screen where it gives you all the things, and I was like, all right, I'm not going beyond this screen because it's telling me a million things. I can't digest that right before the show.
Yeah, they've basically changed like every system in the game. So
Yeah. And you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing because it shows that they're really, really open to what their community says from feedback from the players, and two, they're willing to take the time to make the changes to try to bring back people to the game or make the game more successful. Will it work? I don't know, because there was a lot of issues with the game that people didn't like it. But it's more like a shooter now. It's got more of a, dare I say, without trying to put any bad marks on it, but it's got more of a Destiny-like shooter feel to it, from the point where your guys the enemies aren't bullet sponges anymore. It's still harder to kill enemies in it than, say, a normal shooter, but you don't feel like you're putting like 5 clips into one guy to kill them any longer.
Gotcha.
Which is really cool. So
Matt and I from the 40cast are definitely diving back into that this week. We've already made somewhat plans to do that. So if anybody else is around, jump in.
Yeah, definitely hit me up. The Underground is really neat. I played it like once right when it came out, but by that time a lot of people had given up on it, so I didn't really have a lot of people to roll with through it. But the Underground is like randomly generated missions. Right. Yes. So it's like constant replay. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, Matt and I have done a little bit of that.
Yeah,
I'd like to get back to it.
Also, just one really neat feature that I think every kind of MMO shooter or MMO action type game could learn from is they actually made it now where even random nobody enemies on the levels on the world you're playing have a chance to drop items useful to your character. So even now when you're just running around through the streets shooting guys, there is a chance you'll get an item and it will actually be a good item for your guys. So I think that's really kind of a cool thing.
So somewhat of a reward not to just run by them.
Right.
Like now actually take the time, clear out the places, and you could get something, but you're more likely you're not, but you could.
Right.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's it for right now. I bought Dishonored too. Mm-hmm. I got the collector's edition with the big Corvo mask, so I got my mask to look at. But nice. I got my date game disc to look at, but I haven't actually installed it yet to play it. So that'll be this upcoming week.
Now, what about Battlefield? Did you pop that in at all?
I did not buy Battlefield yet. Battlefield is on my Christmas list. So hopefully you guys will still be playing that around Christmas time.
Oh, I'm sure.
So.
All right. Well, let's move over to Sean. What have you been up to, sir?
Well, we got Vermintide already, so we're good with that. I played some Ark, and I've been working on my server a lot, but I've also been messing around with the procedurally generated stuff, and it's quite entertaining, the islands you can make up. And it takes a lot of... They give you all the options in order to change the landscape, and it takes forever to figure that stuff out as far as that goes. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm having some fun with it. And I played golf with friends, which is hilarious. And I think we should maybe think about that as a night too, because you can actually play it with 12. It's 12 player. It's kind of like a mini golf game. It's early access. It's like $6, I think, on Steam.
I've seen that. I've watched people stream playing that, Sean, and that game looks like a blast.
Oh my God, it is so hilarious because, obviously the commentary is probably what makes it the best. Kind of like last night when we were playing Vermintide. Mm-hmm. So, but
it has close to 5,000 very positive reviews on there.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun, and they have a lot of events too. They do the seasonal events, so Halloween, Christmas, all that stuff. So, pretty neat. I like it. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, good stuff there, guys. Let's get into the news items. Up first for this week, we want to talk about the notable releases that are coming out. We got Watch Dogs 2. We have the Assassin's Creed collection, which includes Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. We have Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon coming out, and Killing Floor 2. And I think that's a PS4 only game. I could be wrong on that. I know it's already out on PC.
That's pro enabled.
It is. So that's going to be on my list of things maybe to purchase.
Played that at PAX East and thoroughly enjoyed it, but it is pretty brutal. But it's multiplayer, so I think it'd be fun to try and get that. It's kind of like endless waves of zombies coming at you.
Poor Floor 2. Well, I gotta kill it. I said, poor Floor 2. Why you gotta be killing it? Have you played the first one? Anybody?
Yes. We way back in the day of Gamers in Beta, we had a Killing Floor night with some of the original co-hosts on PC.
Oh man, I'm showing how foolish I am right now.
Yes. Shame on you, sir. Anything on that list that has anybody excited beyond Killing Floor 2?
Oh my god, if I have to hear my son talk about Pokemon one more time, I'm going to put a bullet in my head.
Pokemon!
I feel like this is a loaded question.
Certainly, that's why I asked.
Let's be honest, I'm picking up Pokemon.
Oh man,
right.
my son Joe, is like his anticipation level higher than I've seen ever for a game. Like I never thought it could get higher than Smash Brothers. Oh my god.
Wow. Well, that's
Your son's
good, though.
cool.
He's been trying to get me to let him ditch school on Friday. Like, you would not believe, man. He's coming at me from every angle. He's working
What
it
a
hard
badass.
to try to.
Now, is he subtle about it, or he just come out, Dad, just let me stay home from school?
He's not subtle at first, and then he slowly gets more subtle, and then I start, getting. He'll walk up to me with homework papers that he's got 100% on and stuff, and he'll be like, "Hey, look what happened at school today. Here's 100. Here's 100%."
The gamer inside of you, that must make you feel good, at least that he's taken after some of the interests that you have. And
Oh no, he's a huge gamer. I've put my voodoo on him, so.
But he's still going to school next Friday, though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now in a strange turn of events, though, which I thought was pretty remarkable, is my wife, who's a non-gamer, right? She even told him that he normally walks home from school, right? But she even told him that she will pick him up, directly in front of the school, and they will drive immediately up to the store so he can pick it up.
Wow, look at that. Teamwork.
And
That's what
he's paying for it himself, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, Trump. All right. Just roll with it, Jay. What about Watch Dogs 2? Any interest there with anybody? No?
I mean, I like the first one. I did like the first one. I haven't really done any research on the second one, though.
I know Joe is very down on Watch Dogs. I've seen some people on Twitter who already have the game, are very into it, said it's a good game, said it's better than the first.
I mean, they didn't have fucking very high to step over the first one.
Mm-hmm. All right, then. And this Assassin's Creed collection, they haven't done anything to these games, right, to warrant a purchase? It's just putting them all on one disc?
Yeah. They're probably running at the same texture resolution as they originally did on PC when they originally released.
Well, let's move on to the news then. The Division is soon to be getting a survival mode, and Sean, pay attention to this portion, and it's going to have crafting. Sean's going to be all over this now.
Yeah, okay.
So they are testing this thing out on the PC right now on their public test server. It's going to be 24 players can participate in this mode, and there'll be PvP and PvE. But supposedly it's less about killing the enemies and more about surviving the elements. So characters will be sick and starving. You have to ward off illnesses, move across the map, again, crafting to survive and things like that.
It's in New York, right?
Yes.
I believe this is still in New York. They haven't moved out of New York.
Nice. So once it's fully out there, Sean, you can basically just find an RP server and live pretty much exactly the same life you already have to live.
Wow. Yeah.
But in a game.
What is it? Was it beat the midge up tonight? Jesus Christ. No, it's all good. I mean, I don't know.
All right,
I'm not
if you like saxophones.
I'm not a big never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm going to be politically correct tonight.
So, this is, it's another interesting dynamic to the game. I think it goes back to what Nick was just mentioning, that they're listening to people, trying to get people back into it. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I know they've done a lot of, publicity for this mode. They've done a lot of streaming and events and things like that. Anything that sort of you've watched, Nick, or seen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, I was very interested in it, so I've watched several full games of it. It's pretty neat. It's, like you said, 24 people. They drop you randomly on the outskirts of the map. You have to fight, like you said, the elements. So you start with very minimal, clothing to fight off the weather, and you have to go through. You have to craft, hats, coats, find them up, find clothing on the guys you kill. Food, water, all that stuff to fight off the elements and to stay, hydrated. It has a temperature gauge up in the corner that tells you how cold you are. You find barrels that you can light fires or go inside of buildings to warm up at certain points. And you're working your way towards the center of the map. And it's the entire map is open right from the get-go. So it's all of the PvE map from the single player part, or not the single player part of the game, but from the story campaign part of the game, and then the dark zone, and it's all together. And you're trying to find, apparently there's a cure for the virus, and they're located in the dark zone. So you have to find your way into the dark zone, fight your way in there, and survive, and extract these cures out. And
so basically, it's like Ark, but without the end game part of it. That's pretty much, you just described Ark pretty much without the end game part of it. That's pretty much what Ark is. That's exactly what Ark is.
It all takes place in 2 hours as well.
That's what I was going to ask you. How long does it take? So 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And if you don't survive, it's game over. You got to start again. There's no check. There's no checkpoints or anything like that.
It's a character completely separate from your. The survival mode is like a mode completely separate from your ongoing game.
Right, ongoing character.
So, in my opinion, I actually think this game mode is probably going to end up overtaking the other games modes for Division as far as popularity is concerned, because there's these short little burst games, similar to watching a very popular game is H1Z1 King of the Hill. Where it's just a bunch of people dropped on a map and they're trying to kill each other and survive by finding stuff scattered all over the map. That's what this is going to turn into.
Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out. Hopefully it goes well on the PC, and then we'll be playing it on the console soon. I want to get you guys' opinions on this one here. This sort of has a little bit to do with what I mentioned with the PS4 Pro and how you don't know what you're looking at. What was been enhanced is ambiguous. So Titanfall 2 recently had an update, but the devs won't tell you what they updated. They don't want people to go in with the preconceived notion we've nerfed this gun, we've changed this layout to the map, this spawn point's been adjusted. They just want you to go out and play it and enjoy it and see if you like it. What do you guys feel about that, of devs updating the game but not telling you what they've updated?
I think it's awesome, to be honest. Every time games in the past have received an update that I've been playing that are first-person shooters, people are always so quick to jump and complain that, oh my god, they nerfed my favorite gun, or they buffed that other thing, and that's before they even got in there. Well, I guess let's pop in here and see what this patch is all about. And now they just have to go in there and try it, and who knows if it's good or bad. They have to actually experience it before they get to be dicks about it.
Yep, I agree. I think it's smart. Most of us would like to know what's going on, but I think in this situation, for that exact reason, it's smart. That way people can't say, complain about it and then go in and, people go in there and they complain that something has been nerfed when they haven't been told what it is, and they're correct about it, then that the devs will know something may be up, if they get multiple complaints about it. But if people go in and start complaining, well, oh, this gun sucks, and it'll be like, oh, well, we didn't touch that one.
What about you, Sean? What were you about to say?
I agree. I think it's great. I think the games need to stop telling everybody what's changing and what's not, unless it's something game-breaking. Other than that, please update it the way so the immersion, I don't lose the immersion effect when I go in to play a game. I don't want to have to know about, oh, well, shit, the gun I have now is no good, or the suit of armor I'm going to get is going to suck because they nerfed this or that. I don't want to know that. I just want to go and I want to play the game. And I can understand the devs not wanting to do it for the same reason Jay said it, and Joe, that no one can bitch about it because no one's going to know what was changed. I agree with this completely. I think the less information in this instance is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too. You're never going to make everybody happy. And we know how the internet works nowadays. So immediately everyone comes out of the fucking woodwork going nuts. You know, oh, God, that's the gun I used all the time. And instead of saying, well, shut up and use a different gun, then 2 patches later, they revert it back to whatever it was before because everybody complained about it, right? Plus, the majority of people who play these games, especially shooters, you know, because mostly when things are getting rearranged, it's usually like balancing in shooters, right? So the majority of people that play shooters are, you know, it's casual, right? But when they release these updates, they release like Destiny and Call of Duty and stuff. They release like patch notes like we're all fucking MLG pro team players, you know. We added, you know, 2.5% accuracy increase on this gun and reduce the damage output on this gun by 0.5%. You know, it's like, really? I mean, come on, man. If you read those patch notes, you really need to find some better things to do. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I mean, you know, unless something to me, my thing has always been, unless something is fundamentally broken, a lot of times these devs have a really bad habit of bending over, you know, and just saying, oh, okay, all right, fine, we'll fix it, you know. But if it's, you know, if it's something that somebody has, you know, figured out a way that they can use it and use it well, then they're just a better player than you. It's that simple, you know. So because of the options there for everybody else to use it, then use it, you know. So
I feel like I'm hanging my head in shame over here. Better than me, man. They're just better than me. All right. Let's move on to Mafia 3. They recently came out with a free Golden Gun DLC, and they weren't done there. They gave out some more free content, 11 new outfits for the main character, Lincoln Clay, and they're all available free on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. 6 of these outfits are worn at different parts of the campaign, while the other 5 are brand new. And the new outfits are available when you reach the Something I've Got to Do mission. So if you go in there right away looking for these, they are not readily available. You got to get to that mission. At that point, you can find them in the wardrobe section. It's a game I need to open. I need to get out of the cellophane.
what happened to that game? I mean, I know a bunch of people bought it, but then the reviews came out and it was like super mediocre.
Yep.
So
it sold really well. So
yeah, it looked really good.
And I'm sure
people are really enjoying the story, but I guess the gameplay is a bit lacking as you go through. Yeah.
I want it, but I heard that there were issues on the PC, and so I was waiting for it to get some good patches.
Like bug issues, like
a lot of like queues and everything weren't popping up for people, and so you just like you weren't getting your button prompts and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is a game here I'm not sure if many people remember us talking about, but we had Chris on, the art director for Darkest Dungeon, on twice in the early days. So just want to circle back to this. Proud of these guys and the work they did. And Darkest Dungeon has surpassed 1 million units in sales. So this is a tactical dungeon crawler. And if you can believe it, out of those 1 million sales, 94% are on the PC. So on the PS4, they've sold 60,000 copies. Big
One
disparity.
of those is mine.
I think it's a great game. It's
I love it. I'm just horrible at it.
Yeah, I'm not that great at it either.
Exactly.
It's
the art
it's
style,
brutally difficult, but I really enjoy it.
the artwork, the narration, the music, just the whole vibe, the whole package is tremendous.
Yep.
So,
Have you played it, Joe?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I haven't actually played it.
Okay. I didn't know if that was your type of game or not.
And the thing I like about when I say tactical, it's not the traditional like hexagon on the floor where you got to move the guys around like that. It's a side-scrolling tactical. So it is very. I mean, I'm not sure if light on tactical is the right way to describe it. It's just not traditional.
I think it's deceivingly simplistic. But once you start playing it and realize all the different systems at work and all the different status effects on the characters, all the different abilities that the characters have and can only use by being placed in different positions in your lineup of your party, then managing food and resources. I mean, it's deceivingly simplistic looking, but it's actually incredibly deep and challenging game.
I just like the layout of it because I hate the sort of isometric games like that where you got to move them forward and then move them back and then move them to the side.
Don't be dogging Final Fantasy Tactics, Mike.
I'll dog it all night.
Oh, no. My heart is broken.
Moving on, Jay apparently wants to jump the news and inserted this in here before the Xbox news. Fine, Jay, fine. Let's see, Mass Effect ends 7 day. They announced the trailer for what, the new Mass Effect game, is that correct?
Yes.
And they also announced that the Mass Effect 2 and 3 are now backwards compatible.
And I started to, so I'm thinking that's going to be my next game that I'm going to start playing, and I'm going to try and finish that.
All right. And certainly 3, if you've listened to Gamers in Beta ever, we have nothing but positive things to say about the multiplayer for Mass Effect 3. A lot of nights spent on co-op, so we'll have to...
A lot.
I am just going through the Red Dead Redemption multiplayer issues. I hope that there's not issues there with Mass Effect 3, but we will give it the college try one night and see what happens.
Definitely. And I did not realize that if you have EA access, both of them are downloadable.
Sweet.
So I don't even have to find my discs.
Nice. So they're free if you have EA access?
I believe so, yes. It says they're in the vault.
All right. Let's move on to some PlayStation news here. Share Factory 2.0 has now rolled out, and it includes options for collages and memes. If you look at some of the nice screenshots in this article, it looks like you can put up to maybe 7 pictures in a collage, and you can put sort of themes. So there's a Uncharted 4 collage, and you can put some of the themes from that game into the collage as well and tweet that out. And you can also create memes, which just the world needs at this time is more memes. But, the PS4 sharing thing to me is so amazing the way they do it. It just works. I don't have to go through a whole bunch of hoops and, tweet out a link for people to look at. It's just there in the tweet, and it just works. So I will dive into this definitely when I have some free time and play around with some of the layouts and schemes and things like that.
If you've never used the Share Factory video editing tool, it's very basic, but it is super easy to use.
Yeah, they definitely designed their share in the video editing. It's superior to the Xbox's setup because that is a pain in the ass to try and get to work on the Xbox.
I don't even touch it because I think half the time you tweet it out, isn't it just a link? Like people to go to like OneDrive or something? I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Let's see what else here. Mods for Fallout will be coming to the PS4 by the end of the month. Yay. But again, they're just going to be mods based on in-game assets. And if it's like the mods on the Xbox, you will not be able to earn trophies at the same time. Is that right, Jay?
That would be correct, because you're cheating as far as they're concerned.
Well, it's the same thing with PC, too. It has the same thing. They shut the achievements off.
Yeah.
Anything in-game.
So, Jay, I saw that you and Juggler of Geese were talking on Twitter about using one of your other accounts and playing Fallout with the mods so it wouldn't affect your trophy progress or achievement progress. Have you tried that yet?
I have not, due to all the traveling that I've been doing, going to West Virginia and then just got back from Florida and all that. I have not had the opportunity to play.
Oh, my God, the excuses.
Hey, I haven't played a game in over a week, so...
There you go, guys.
I'm waiting for this podcast to get over so I can crank one out.
Alrighty then.
We're almost there because you already gave out half this story, which was the Backwards 1 compatibility has reached their first milestone, the first anniversary. 210 million hours and counting, they say. And to celebrate that, they released some more games. As Jay already told us, Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. And Skate 3 came out this week, which a lot of people were very excited for. And, yeah, you want to play your backwards compatible games, they keep coming out. And I haven't spent a lot of time in there. Nick, do you spend a lot of time in backwards compatibility?
No, I played through, I think the only backwards compatible game I played through was Dead Space. I went through and played through it again because it'd been a long time since I played that game, and I really enjoyed the original Dead Space game. So
yeah, I played through and I got stuck. So I need. But
there's
to go
just
back
so
to
much
that
new
one.
stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Right. All right. Well, let's wrap this up here with some plugs. Some things I want to mention right off the top is Good for Gaming reached and exceeded their Extra Life goal. So if you remember when Dave was on, he said their goal was $10,000. So currently they have reached $11,401.
That's awesome. Amazing.
So that's great work on their behalf. I'm sure a lot of children will benefit from that money, so that's great. Nice job, Dave and company. Nice job, Joe State, who has designed a new T-shirt for us here. If you go to represent.com/store/gamers in beta, you can check out the new logo. It's an eagle, kind of like old school tattoo, hand-drawn eagle.
Very traditionalist.
With the PS4, with the DualShock 4 and a Xbox controller. So you want to show off your Gamers in Beta pride, you can now get those for $15 on represent.com, and they come in various different colors. And Joe, again, thank you for all that work.
For sure. I can't wait to wear one.
Yes, I ordered one. We'll see what comes this week. And last week, Jay, I'm not sure if you caught it at the end of the podcast, I mentioned I wanted to do some sort of a Gamers in Beta Festivus meetup with everybody that's local in the Boston, New England area. So I'll mention that again.
Yes.
If you have time to come down from Maine, Jay, you're more than welcome. Hopefully we can organize that at some point.
Yes, please.
And lastly, Nick, thanks for coming on and sharing all your insights on gaming, but specifically the PlayStation VR.
No problem.
Enjoyed that conversation. And other than that, go listen to 40Cast and Gamers Unscripted, my other shows. And yeah, that should be it for me. Who wants to go next? Nick, how about you're the guest? How about you go?
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter. It's Nick at GamesontheMind. I'm taking a break from streaming right now, kind of reevaluating that. So too much adulting going on, too much real life stuff. So, but I love to talk up the games. So anytime you guys want to chit chat or have me on, feel free.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Yes.
All right, Jay.
I want to, again, all the listeners, thank you very much. Want to put it out there. If you are listening, whatever you happen to be listening through, whatever app or stream, if you could leave some feedback for us, we would appreciate it. And thank you for listening, and for all our new listeners that have been coming on. We appreciate you and hope you stick around.
Okay, Sean?
Just shout out you guys and shout out all the podcasts that keep me going on my drives to Vermont during the week. I've added a couple new ones, Future Monkeys, Flux Depose. I think that's it for now, because Future Monkeys will probably keep me busy for the next couple of years, I guess, from my understanding. Because I guess they do some pretty long podcasts. So shout out, Los. And then that's pretty much it. And thanks for the listeners. It's nice. It looks like we're going up, so that's good. Pretty much it.
All right. And Joe, look at you, 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Joe State.
Yeah.
Yes. Sort of words of wisdom.
I want to shout out the shop owner for the tattoo shop I'm at, because the guy that I primarily apprentice under, Ryan, he just got he had to go under surgery because he had such gnarly kidney stones that they actually had to cut them out. And so 2 days out of surgery, he was just like, well, I don't like sitting around at home. I'm not going to cancel my appointments. And he went in and he did a tattoo and then was like, all right, well, I'm canceling the rest of my appointments and leaving. And, I had just gotten there. It was only one appointment and it's like a half an hour drive. I was like, well, fuck, what am I going to do? I should just tattoo myself. Just joking around because he had already left. And then Keith, the guy that owns the shop, was just like, yeah, fuck it, go do it right now. And I was like, oh shit, really? So I ended up tattooing myself for the first time. And it actually turned out pretty good. He gave me a little bit of guidance, and he said that the consistency on my lines and everything is like 85% there. So it was super impressive for a first tattoo. And I do a couple more of these, and I can start practicing on other people. So the career is launching, guys.
Nice. Now, I got to ask you one question about that. When you're hurting yourself, meaning giving yourself a tattoo, there has to be an urge to pull away and go, wow, that sucks. I can stop doing this. You just keep, when I'm paying someone to tattoo me, obviously I'm sitting there, I'm grinding.
Like
out.
a rock.
Right. But when you're doing it on yourself, you're like, shit, I could just stop this at any time and be done with it. Was there any sort of that going on? Like, man, I want to just stop doing that.
Not this time. Ryan and Keith have both said that tattooing yourself is the worst and hardest thing to do. But I think since this is my first time, and I was just like so pumped that I didn't even like notice it at all. Like it didn't hurt one bit. And it was on the kind of like the inside of my leg. So it's not like the most painful spot to get tattooed. Right. But honestly, I was just cheesing the whole time. So, no getting around that.
Well, hopefully those guys listen to the podcast and see how excited you are for tattooing yourself. Are they gamers?
No, not really.
No.
The only game that Ryan likes is Skyrim, and he keeps asking me, what other game can I get that's just like Skyrim? I was like, man, it's not really other games like that.
Witcher 3, baby.
Witcher is actually the game that I suggested most recently, because now that he's stuck at home, he's looking for something to play, but yeah.
Well, he can still subscribe and download. Doesn't mean he has to listen.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Anything else, Joe?
That's everything.
All right, Jay, how about you do us the honors?
Until next time, same beta time, same beta channel, and maybe Corey will be back. See ya! New York's alright. New York's alright. New York's alright. Like saxophones. New York's alright when they push me from the subway. New York's alright if you like tuberculosis. New York's alright if you like barking jazz. New York's alright if you're a homosexual. New York's alright. New York's alright. New York's alright. Like saxophone.
I got to press the ham against the porcelain and drop a deuce.